there's just way too many. And they've been around for a really long time. It's like that Beanie Baby craze we had back in the day. So like I think they're cool, and if you can get them for a cheap price, I think they're collectible. But
Amazing Pop Culture Podcast. Laurence, star of the powerful YouTube channel Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and also the epic podcast The Mighty Rewind. Welcome to Amazing Pop Culture Podcast.
thanks for having me on, man. You guys know I love you. Last time we did this, we had a blast. We did it over the phone, but I'm
Yeah,
excited to actually be visual now.
it was audio. I just had to imagine what you looked like.
Yeah, probably better off that way.
Two old Italian dudes talking. I love it.
Yeah,
So
man,
let's
I'm
get,
excited.
yes, let's get right into it. He-Man, Masters of the Universe. You saw the preview. You saw the teaser trailer. I saw it. Tell us about it.
I was First of all, let's start with the teaser. I was blown away how they went so retro with the 80s television set, and then of course talking about the cereal and the workout and just saying, this is the hero we need right now and the time that we're in. I thought that was awesome. I really did. So like kudos to MGM, Amazon, and Travis Knight for doing that. But then the trailer itself, I was blown away on not only the visuals but how much they showed us in that trailer. I didn't think we were going to get the transformation. We got it. So many villains actually were in the trailer. It makes me think that there's a lot more that we don't know about this film that they're leading on, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, because so tell me, like, you were thinking Orko. When is he going to show up?
I have this theory, and I don't have confirmation 100% that he's going to be in the movie, but I have heard from people who have kind of got was able to see that sneak peek they did, that unfinished movie, and they did say that there's going to be something with Orko in the film. So I don't want to give it away until
No.
yeah, I do believe he's going to be in the film, and I do think in some of the shots that we got in that trailer that maybe he was clipped out of it, especially that money shot of them coming out of the ship landing on there. I think Orko is in that scene. It's just too reminiscent of the cartoon, them coming out and then walking behind. I think he's in that shot.
So let's go over the actors. How do you think the actor, just from the little bit you saw, is portraying both Adam and He-Man?
I think Adam is perfect. You could see some of the facial expressions that he had in the trailer, especially when he sees the sword in the collectible store for the first time. That's straight Prince Adam from the cartoon, which is awesome. I think he's going to do a great job as Adam and as He-Man as well. I do think we're only going to get He-Man for the very end of the movie. One transformation, possibly two max, but that's it. I think all the people complaining, I think they're a little bit overstimulated, right? This is something that's been 40 years in the making. It's not going to be perfect. It's a cartoon and a toy line that are adapting into a film. And if you saw the Barbie movie, it's the same thing. It wasn't exactly like the toy, but it's very, very close. And that's what I think we need after all this time.
How about the other characters? How do you feel the little bit you saw? They're fleshed out.
Roboto was a little off. I'm not going to lie to you. The paint job that we got in the trailer wasn't, akin to what we got in the toy line and the cartoon. I'll say that. Man at Arms, I thought that he looked great. I mean, obviously, it's kinda hard to wear orange armor, but they did a great
Yeah.
job making it like a silver armor with, like, rust, which made it look orange, which I think looks great. Cringer looked fantastic. Tila, we talked about, a long time because we had those shots early on. I think they went with what the best they could do for a modern Tila, but overall, I think a lot of the characters look great, and I thought Skeletor looked great. If I had to give one gripe about Skeletor is I would like the skull to be a little bit more yellow, maybe not as quite as yellow as the cartoon, but a little bit more yellow.
So do you think with the trailer, teaser trailer, a lot of times it's some third party person that puts it together. Do you think when they actually get the film going that they're going to be able to tweak those colors, put on filters, and get it to the way they want it to look?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know how far along they are with post production. I will say this: I heard that they're just scoring the movie now. That was a post that was just put out a couple of days ago saying they just started scoring it, so they don't even have the music set. So I'm hoping they could, make He-Man look a little bit more buff, a little bit bigger. I'm hoping that we'll get a few, tweaks here and there. Maybe they're waiting for the reaction to fans out there. But I will say this: is that the overwhelmingly positive reaction that I have seen so far everywhere that I've been, and I'm talking about Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, is overwhelmingly positive, which is fantastic. I think this movie's going to be a big hit.
So let me ask you, in 1987, Dolph Lundgren, He-Man.
The disappointment I had as a child going to see that movie, I still remember it because You walk in excited, you saw some of the trailer, you didn't know what you were actually gonna get, and then walk in, and it wasn't He-Man. He was called He-Man, but he wasn't He-Man. Skeletor, again, that was probably the best part of that film
Yeah.
was Frank Langella, but outside of that, nothing was even relatable to He-Man that we got in the cartoon or in the toy line, so it was incredibly disappointing, and that's why I think the struggles that we've had over these 40 years to kind of get another He-Man movie to come to a movie theater, it's been so vast between going from wherever it was originally to Netflix to wherever to Amazon, between all the actors they cast, finally getting the trailer. It's pent up anticipation is so much. People are going to explode in the movie theater. I guarantee it.
So do you think the little things that they get wrong is not going to be enough to torpedo the movie? People are going to overlook it. Like you said, the shade of this is not good and the shade of that. Just the overall movie, you think that's going to be enough and people are just going to forgive the little things?
I think they have to. I think there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people out there to criticize and critique every little thing because they have such nostalgia for this IP. And I've talked about this before. The amount of people out there who grew up with Master Universe or kind of rediscovered it maybe later on in their life, it's huge. The fandom is really enormous. So I do think there are going to be people out there who are going to be upset with little things. From all indication, what I've heard is that the story is really great, remembering the characters we grew up with. So I think it's gonna be overwhelmingly positive. I think people will forgive the little things here or there as long as we have everything that we need. And from my estimation, the only thing that we don't have yet is Orko. That's the main thing. And secondarily, the music, the iconic music from the cartoon. If they kind of tweak it and put it in the movie and Orko's in it, people are gonna go crazy.
Now, let me ask you this. Are they trying to keep the original feel of the animated series, or are they, you know how they always tend to go dark on everything, make everything grittier, darker? What have you heard from your sources that is it going to be, they're going to keep the feel the same, or they're going to make it, you know how Superman, they got to make it dark, they got to make it gritty. Daredevil, it's, oh my God, we got to make it dark. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be very lighthearted and funny. That's what I've heard is gonna be a lot of comedy in this film, and if you remember the '80s cartoon, there was a lot of comedy, a lot of sheepishness, especially with Orko, Cringer, and some of the other things that went on in the show, but I do think there'll be dark elements to the show, especially Skeletor. The most comedic aspect from the cartoon was Skeletor. He was hysterical, like the comments, the verbiage, the comebacks. That's what made him iconic as a villain. So I'm hoping they do that as well. So I'm hearing it's very comical. I do think the tones will be kind of mixed, but overall, what I've heard is that it's there. People have been very pleasantly surprised how good the story is.
Thundar the Barbarian. Did you watch that series?
No, it was a little bit before me, so that was some. I of course I know about it, but something I didn't really watch.
Do you think you could revisit that? Because I'd love for you to watch that and think and just see what you think about that going into He-Man and further, even further back, the Herculoids. Are you familiar with those also?
I remember the Herculoids, but, like, vaguely. It was such a long time ago, and I wasn't, like, a huge fan of it, but I will say that, like, I remember it coming on. I don't remember what if it was in the morning, and I always get up and I try to miss it. I try to catch it, but I would always miss it. So, I remember it, but I would love to go back and check it out, don't get me wrong. I still watch a lot of these cartoons to these day, whether on YouTube or wherever, just because it brings about a lot of nostalgia for me.
Yeah, because Herculoids, Hanna-Barbera, they had the space, the, you know, the barbarian type. They had Gloop and Gleep. They had
Mhm.
two different, you know, dinosaur that would shoot things out of his horns, and then going into Thunder the Barbarian, which is darker, dystopian, and had some Kirby artwork in it. So I think if you watch those two, I would love to get your take on that going into He-Man. Now, He-Man itself was originally a toy line,
Yeah.
and they built it.
Absolutely. What made Mass Universe unique as opposed to everything else was the iconic characters, right? All these phenomenal characters that were thought up, that the imagination for some of these people that came up with these characters is it was just wild. And that's what drew me to the line. I think it drew a lot of people to that line because you look at the colors for all these characters, especially the toy line, and it brought kids in, and then you add the cartoon to it, and then it put a personality to these characters, and that's what I really thought brought everything together.
Where were you in your comic book journey watching He-Man? Were you collecting them? Were you casually reading them? Where were you at with comic books versus watching He-Man?
I think the TV show came out in 1984, which is Universe, but the toy line came out late in 1981, and I was right off the bat, I was into the toy line because, like I said, because I was really drawn into not only card backs, but the colors of the toys. I was, at that point, I'm like 4 or 5 years old. So, like,
Okay. Okay.
I would get, like, comics, brought home to me from my dad who worked in a store. So, yeah, I was into comics and seeing some Spider-Man. I wasn't into Master Universe comics back then, but obviously into other comics. I was just kinda starting to get into looking at the pictures, reading a little bit of the story, but not too into it at that time yet.
What do you know about the He-Man mini comics that came out
A little
before?
bit. I actually have the very first He-Man mini comic now, The Power of the Sword or whatever. He-Man and the Power Sword is what it's called. So I actually have that one. But a lot of them, when I first got the toys, they were just, I don't want to say they were throwaway, but I wanted to play with the toy, not so much, read the
Sure.
mini comic. But I would go back and kind of flip through them later on to see what, the story brought out from the characters. Because that's how another thing that kind of tied everything together for each character.
So what do you know about the Thunder the Barbarian comic book coming up?
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was one coming out. Who's putting
There
it out?
that I don't know. I saw the buzz on the internet. I was hoping I'm assuming what are some of the big independent publishers right now?
Well, obviously, the biggest is Image Comics, but
Yeah,
there's
so I was thinking maybe Image. I saw some,
possible.
preliminary artwork on that, but I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
have to
need
check it out.
yeah, I'm gonna need you to get me a 10 on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can, but I'll see what my LCS can do. If they get
Yeah.
them in, I'll definitely check it out if you want
No,
to,
no,
100%.
I honestly, I gotta get one, yeah. That's awesome. So let me I wanna get into we got a bunch of trailers coming out. Did you watch the Supergirl trailer?
Yes, I did. I'll be the first to say, while I'm a DC fan, I'm a big Batman guy, Superman as well. I never really got into Supergirl. So obviously, the whole storyline is about that Woman of Tomorrow storyline, the modern run. And I heard it's a really great story, but not a big Supergirl fan, so, like, obviously, the trailer was good, I did enjoy it, we got to see Lobo, which he looks fantastic, so I think a lot of people are gonna check it out regardless. I thought the trailer was good, but not being a Supergirl fan, I don't really have true fandom for her.
So without having fandom, you can look at it, objectively, subjectively, however you wanna say it. What do you think? Do you think this movie's gonna be a hit? And I also wanna know who's it targeted towards.
I think it's targeted towards a younger generation. There's no question in my mind. I think James Gunn in general is targeting the younger generation of fans who are not into comics. Obviously, when you put out Superman, everybody knows who Superman is. So you're born and you pretty much know who he is. But Supergirl's, again, like I said before, I don't think a lot of fans out there flock to Supergirl. There are a few out there, I'm sure, but I definitely think he's targeting a younger audience. But overall, in general, I think in my opinion, I think James Gunn is going to struggle for what I've seen him put out so far in that Superman movie and then going to Supergirl. It might be a great story a la Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think Supergirl is more known than the Guardians were, the team that they put together. And that's why I think James had such success with Guardians because they were unknown. He could do exactly what he wanted and nobody would have been the wiser. Superman is a little bit different. Everybody knows who he is. If you take a character like that and put him on screen, he better stick to the source material, better give an accurate, depiction of that character. Supergirl to a lesser extent, because I don't think as many people follow that character, but I still think it needs to be representation of that character and a storyline.
Excellent. So let's get into Doomsday. What do you think? What did you watch? Did you watch all the
I
trailers?
Yeah, I saw them all. I think I don't know really what the Russos are trying to set up here. That's the big thing. Like, I thought all the trailers were cool, but at the end of the day, what are they really telling us? That all these characters are returning? They said they're trying to set up something and tell us a story to kind of preface what's going on, and each trailer had like a time mark from Avengers Endgame or wherever it was, and you watch all those time marks go back. They're trying to set things up, and what we got from it, I guess, is that each interruption from these time frames that we're given are interruptions in the universe, right? Like the multiverse that they're causing these incursions. That's what I think they're trying to set up. That's what everybody's saying. So again, I'm still waiting for the big drop, the big reveal, and I'm hoping we get that at the Super Bowl. That's my opinion. We're going to get a trailer at the Super Bowl to kind of give us more information because right now I'm still a little bit I don't really know what's going on with these trailers. There was nothing that was mind blowing or gave us too much information, but I'm hoping we get that final push at that Super Bowl trailer.
Let me ask you this: out of all the ones you saw, which one excited you the most?
The Captain America one, the first
Okay.
one. Absolutely. I'm glad to see Steve. You know, he has a kid now. You know, he's still in that time era. So, you know, it makes me think, how does he get to present time where Doomsday takes place? So we see he's still there. He has a child, but how does he get there? So it makes you think like, all right, so what are they going to do with this character? Are they going to show us at some point him bringing back the Infinity Stones and putting them back in the timeline where they belong? Does he have an issue doing that? I want to see how they explain him coming back.
So, what are your thoughts? Are you a fan of the Fantastic Four?
Yeah, of course. I grew up with the Fantastic Four. Again, mostly Marvel. I grew up reading a lot of Marvel, being drawn to the characters and the arts 100%.
So, what do you think of the Thing, the portrayal of the Thing?
I actually loved it. I think it was a throwback to everything that Jack Kirby did. That entire movie was a throwback to Jack Kirby, and a big thank you to Jack Kirby. And that's really, as a comic book fan and a Marvel fan, that's really what I wanted. I thought the original Fantastic Four, you know, with the Ben Grimm, how they portrayed him, I thought was good too. A more modern take for that time frame, that like 1990s, you know, 2000s, maybe 1980s. Ben Grimm, I thought was good, but this is straight out of the comic books.
Do you think he should have had a more of a over the top New York accent?
I thought he was okay. I mean, I know they wanted to portray him, you know, being Jewish, which I think that came across very well, but I thought his accent was pretty good. Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm like I live right outside of New York, so a lot of people say that I have that a similar accent, but he sounded okay to me. Nah, I think he
Yeah,
was fine.
yeah. You have an accent. I have the Minnesota accent going on, so that's excellent. Let's get into Submariner. What did you think about Submariner?
So I gotta tell you, I'm one of those people who wasn't a fan of what they did with him in Black Panther 2. I didn't like the Aztec vibe of the character. I think they could have portrayed him a little bit better. I didn't mind the actor and I didn't mind the way he looked. I thought it was okay, but I think they could have been more comic book accurate with the character. I understand a lot of not a lot of people are drawn to that character, know the character. So when that happens, just like Guardians we talked about before, I think Marvel and these comic book whatever movies directors, they feel like they can go ahead and change certain aspects of the character just because of that, and they wanna tie it into real world, which I really wasn't a fan of, so I don't know
Yeah,
how big of a role he's gonna have anyway.
I agree. I didn't like it at all. And he's so powerful in the comic books, and he almost has that Mr. Spock look to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd go more for that. Kind of the anti-hero. Let me ask you
I
about
agree.
the yeah. Let me ask you about X-Men. What did you think about the X-Men trailer?
What are we talking about? You mean for the
Yeah, I'm
Doomsday
sorry.
show?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Love seeing Cyclops in the OG outfit. Of course, him with blasting everything. Something's really going on in that
Yeah.
scene. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think that was probably my second favorite after the Captain America. I'm not a huge X-Men guy. The original X-Men movies, to me, weren't it. Once you start changing costumes to a point where I can't really recognize some of the
Mm,
characters, I did not like that. So, just like some of the things that we got, like from Fantastic Four, that were fixed from Spider-Man, what was it? A No Way Home, where they kind of fix all the Spidey villains with their outfits. They're gonna do that with the X-Men now, and I think it's gonna be really, really fun. So I am looking forward to it, but I'm also looking forward to see the new X-Men team and what they do with that.
so who's in the new lineup?
I don't know. They haven't
Okay.
said anything. They
Oh,
haven't said
okay.
anything yet, but I'm
Okay.
looking forward to seeing who the new Wolverine's gonna be, the new Cyclops, the new Magneto, new Professor X. I'm looking forward to that. I really wanna see how they cast that and how they treat those characters going forward, considering we already got them for such a long time.
So, I love the Beast. I love the original Beast. I always hoped they would have done like the human form of the Beast. Like I love the Beast, and also, Amazing Adventures when he transitioned into the Fur Beast and he was kind of gray. I like that. I was hoping because the problem when they do you can't do blue fur. It ends up looking stupid, like it's some Muppet or something. I was always hoping they could. I was always hoping that, and I didn't like when they went feline with the beast too, when they made him look like a cat. Like the dude's an animal. He's a beast. He's not a cat. So that always bugged me.
What I heard that they're gonna do, and I don't know this, I don't have confirmation of this, but they're gonna make like individual origins of all these characters now and then bring them into an X-Men
Wow.
movie, which I actually like. I don't know if they're going to do
Yes.
one for each one because there's so many X-Men characters. I don't think you could do that. But I would
Well, then
love a solo like Storm movie. I would love a solo Cyclops movie. I think that would be really cool.
you said you're not a big X-Men fan, but if you had to pick one, who's your favorite X-Men?
It's come on. I think everybody's favorite Wolverine. Like he's just a cool character. Everybody loves him. The
Yeah.
attitude from the comics is, I think, what is drawn a lot of the people to that character. Very cool looking character as well. Has some great powers. Of course, he's got the claws, which everybody loves. So I think even non-comic people love that character because of just how he is. But for me, it's still Wolverine. He's still a cool character.
Okay. I want to get into toys because you also talk about toys, collectibles. What are you seeing in 2026? What are some of the hot things? I want to start out. What do you think of Funko Pops?
It's so funny you mentioned that. I was talking to somebody today about, I'll reveal some big news on your podcast right here. I actually got accepted to
Breaking
be
news.
a yeah, not breaking news, but a cool news for me. I got I got approved for a press pass at Toy Fair this year, which is going to happen in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be checking out all the new toys that are be coming out. So I'm hoping to see some new MOTU movie figures. I'm hoping to see LJN WWE figures. We already got to see that first line was released. The second one, they announced. I'm hoping to see the third line to see who they are. So I'm hoping to put that on my channel. But I am looking forward to that the most. The Master Universe movie figures, I am really looking forward to. And of course, I grew up with those LJN the WWF superstars back in the day. Like I was addicted to those. Like being a wrestling fan as well, growing up, like attributed to that. It was such a great time to be a wrestling fan. So like those are two lines that are going to be coming out that I'm going to be interested in. But also, of course, we have Marvel Legends. We have the GI Joe, all the new GI Joe Transformers that are coming out. You mentioned Funko Pop. So Funko Pop,
Yes.
I did not know this. I am not a Funko Pop guy, but they do that company that manages Mondo. I don't know if you're familiar with Mondo.
Yes.
So Mondo has been putting out some amazing stuff, amazing statues and figures, and I covered them when they came to New York Comic Con. But the Funko Pop is dead. I hate to say it, it's been dead for a while. I see them for under $5 and under now anywhere I go. Some exclusive stuff I'm sure you could find for higher prices, but there's just way too many and they've been around for a really long time. It's like that Beanie Baby craze we had back in the day. So like I think they're cool, and if you can get them for a cheap price, I think they're collectible. But if you're spending high dollar amounts on these things, I think those are finished.
Quick pause before the next bombshell. Loving this pop culture breakdown? Smash that like button. Drop your wildest take in the comments. We read them all. Haven't subscribed? Hit subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, and follow Amazing Pop Culture Podcast on social media for exclusive tea. Now, back to the drama.
Let me ask you this. Do you think signatures help? Because I notice a lot of guys, they're getting the pops and they're getting the signatures and the artwork. Do you think that's going to save it or not? Or is it going to do you think it's going to get narrowed down? There's still going to be that core group of pops that are valuable and everything else you said is just going to be junk?
Just like in comics, I mean, comics are obviously way more popular, but just as in comics, if you go look at some of the comics on this on the census, there are a lot of almost everything out there, except for Golden Age comics. So if you get a certain comic or a Funko Pop signed by an artist, creator, obviously a voice actor, anything that's relating to that item, it's always going to increase the value, and it's always going to kind of decrease the amount of those availables, right? So like I'll take like obviously Stan Lee signed everything under the sun. So there's a lot of Stanley signatures out there, but at the end of the day, Stanley is one of the biggest creators that there ever was. So it really depends on who signs the item, what the item is, obviously if it's a Funko Pop, but and how many are out there. So the scarcity is key. So again, if it's like a Skeletor pop that's signed by Alan Oppenheimer, how many of those out there exist? I don't even know if we could track that, but that's something I would probably look into buying if I can get it for cheap.
Okay. And you're saying wrestling figures are hot as ever.
The WWE LJN wrestling superstars, there's been one wave so far, and there's been a lot of buzz. The only issue that I've seen so far is that in the beginning, when they were released, they were a little hard to get, but now it seems like they're everywhere. They're in every Target store. They're a Target exclusive, so they do think they're hot. There's still people looking for the four that have been released, but at the end of the day, I think right now there's too many that are made to make it
Okay.
valuable, but they're still collectible.
So what are the valuable wrestling figures?
Wow, I couldn't even answer that question.
That's
I
fine.
stopped
That's fine.
collecting
Yeah.
wrestling figures, like, years ago, only because
Okay.
there's so many iterations of them.
Okay. Well, let's go to Marvel Legends then. Where are we at in those? What are the hot ones?
Just like Pops, there's too many that are made. They
Okay.
made too many of them. Like, I was collecting the Spider-Man retro figs out from the retro card line from the TV show. When those first came out, they were a fortune. Like, that first wave, they were going for, like, $150, some of them. Now you go back, they re-release some of those, and they're exactly the same as the original release. They just drug down the value. So that's why I stopped collecting them as well. I love them. I thought they were nostalgic, but at the end of the day, that was it.
So are you paring yourself, your personal collection, what are you paring it down to? Are you getting rid of
I
a lot of stuff?
I got rid of a lot of stuff.
You
So,
did.
like,
Okay.
yeah, so, like, I had a lot more comics. A couple of years back, I kinda consolidated into things that I absolutely loved. Same with, I had Garbage Pail Kids. You guys, I'm a big Garbage Pail Kid guy. I had 1 through series 8 complete. I ended up selling that and just recollecting series 1 through 3 because that to me was always been, like, the heart of Garbage Pail Kids. So I'm still consolidating everything. I was collecting Masters Universe Origins, the new line. I almost had the full line complete. I didn't get some of the crazy repaints and newer characters because I didn't have an affinity for them, but I ended up just recently selling those as well. But I still have my loose 1980s figures that I'm still trying to complete. I'm missing a few here and there. So basically, what it comes down to is I'm trying to keep the stuff that I have incredible nostalgia for and like
Okay.
really heartfelt moments.
Where are you at Wacky Packages? Did you get into those?
So I was more of a GPK guy. I didn't really
Okay.
collect wacky packages, but I was a GPK guy.
Okay. Excellent.
What about you?
So I started in comic books. I'm a little bit older than you, so in Spider-Man, I think we can both agree that's probably our favorite. That's your favorite too?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
So I did Spider-Man. My problem is I read comic books, I played with the toys. I was one of those guys, and everything has to be mint now. So that's difficult for me. All my everything I have is well loved. So, and I'm also trying to pare down stuff. Like, what are your thoughts on? Do you use the term filler for comics? Filler run filler?
There is 100%. So like when
Okay.
I have Amazing Spider-Man 1 through I have 1 through the McFarlane run. When Amazing Spider-Man McFarlane jumped off that to go on Spider-Man, I have every one through that number. I forget what it
No,
is, 316 or 320, whatever it
no,
was.
no pun intended. That is amazing.
Yes. So when I
It
was
was
trying to
intended. I'm sorry.
yeah. So when I was trying to complete that run, like I'll use the term filler because if you look anything after 129, which is the Punisher's first appearance in the Bronze Age, 135 will maybe we'll go after 135. Like from there all the way through like 238 is the first Hobgoblin, and like then after that till the McFarlane run and Venom, like that's what all that is. It's all filler. It's great story, great art, but like I would not pay up for any of those books that are not big key issues because to me they are filler. They're like they are what they are. Their story, their art, but that's where it ends. That's where the value ends.
So you don't like spending a lot of money. You always want to get a deal on something.
In this market, like I'll ask you this: what's really hot right now in the collectible market right now? Pokemon, I think, is still really hot.
Yes.
One Piece obviously now is hot, but outside of that, sports cards have come down. Obviously, comics have come down. Video games have come down. So, like, now's your time if you're a collector that I'd be putting money to work on things that I really want, and you can get a deal because, like I said before, like there's not a lot of things out there that are scarce. So collectors are more savvy than ever. So they're going out and they're spending money on things that they want, but they also know they're getting deals because there's so many of everything out there. So 100%.
What are your thoughts on re-releasing like Batman, Spider-Man, and just putting things in front of it like Ultimate Spider-Man, epic Batman?
That's a
And it,
great question.
yeah,
For people like me who grew up with the IP, and obviously Batman came out in a long time ago, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
1930, 39, 40, whatever the hell it was.
yeah.
Re-releasing a character and changing the story to me was like taking characters when Marvel did it, and I don't remember the time frame, but Marvel took those characters and made them other characters based off them, like Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy. You're going to take a character and kind of do the same thing, put them in a different universe, give them different powers and a different backstory. It's almost not Batman. You know what I mean? Like absolute Batman, absolute Superman. I've heard the stories have been phenomenal, and if you're not, akin to the original, you may love it. So if a collector that's coming in right now and is reading those stories, they're absolutely loving it. I think that's great because you're bringing in new collectors, and that's what we want in the industry. But I think old school people like me, they're still going to miss what they grew up with. And that's everything that I'm about is nostalgia. If you just want a great story, I think it's great. But if you're looking for value in like investments and stuff like that, that's not something I would go for.
So what is your period for you? What is the ultimate when you think Spider-Man, when you think X-Men? You're not a big X-Men fan, but your kind of window on Marvel, not collecting, but kind of reading, was that late 80s?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. It was actually, it's probably before then. It
Okay.
was mid 80s to early 90s.
Okay.
So, like, once they started blowing out issues, once McFarlane went up to Spider-Man, and then after the Image thing, right when that kinda cool off is kinda where I stopped, but I got in the mid-80s, like, right in there, started reading everything, and I was reading every Spider-Man title, and I was reading Batman. Not Detective, but I was reading the Batman title.
Sure. Like I always talk about on this podcast, I'm obsessed with 1984. If you think of the movies that came out in 1984, Terminator, Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, Revenge of the
And then
Nerds.
and then you look at '85 too. '85 was insane. I always say, '85 was like the peak of civilization. Like, that's when after '85, it started to go downhill. Yeah, I agree. '84, '85 was that time for movies, and I think for everything pop culture that we love today.
So yeah, what I'm getting at is 1984, the black costume for Spider-Man.
That was it. That
Yeah.
was the thing.
Isn't that
Everybody
amazing?
it is, and
Using that word again.
still to this day, people wanna see it. I am dying to get a true Venom story in the MCU where, I'm hoping that in Doomsday, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little off on a tangent here, but I'm hoping that in
No, no.
Doomsday, Doctor Doom kills Spider-Man and the symbiote
Whoa.
revives him in Secret Wars, and then we get symbiote Spider-Man in Secret Wars. That's what I'm hoping for. Obviously, in the comics, it works a little different, but in here, I think that would be a great way to do it, for Marvel to go ahead and do that and have that symbiote show up. People would love that, and then they could focus on the next trilogy, the last 2 films in Spider-Man focusing on Venom, the character, and the symbiote, and then they could end it that way.
So what do you think about Venom? Do you like him as evil Venom, or do you like him as the goofy, jokey Venom, or the
No.
anti-hero? Why do they always have to take something that's like scary evil and they always have to turn him into some anti-hero? Just leave him the way he is.
I agree. They always have to take a twist, even like Scorpion getting the symbiote
Yes.
costume,
Yes.
it's just it's the same thing. Like, I agree. Venom to me growing up as a kid was, and I think everybody, like, you were like, that was the it character of that time, this brand new character that was created that everybody loves. So I'm definitely the Eddie Brock, hates Spider-Man, wants to kill Spider-Man, and turns into Venom because the thing about what made Venom great is he is exact opposite of what
Yes.
Spider-Man is and Peter Parker. So that's what made him great. Yes, he looks awesome, especially the newer iterations of the character. He looks a lot better than I think Todd's original design for Venom. But the fact that he's the exact opposite of Peter Parker, that's what everybody was drawn to as a kid reading that character. And I think that's what they've gotten away from now with the anti-hero. I understand why they do it now to have a fresh take on some of these characters, but at the end of the day, the OG people who grew up with this stuff, that's now really what they're into.
So what do you see the future of comic books? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but which way are they going generally?
I I said about a year and a half to 2 years ago that the modern comic was gonna take control because there was a lot of good writing, there were more books that were coming out that people were gonna be interested in, and the fact that, like I said before, the collectors out there right now who buy vintage, who buy back issues, they're so much more advanced now than they were a couple of years ago. They know what to look for, they know what things are priced, they use GPA or Go Collect to price their books. I still think it's heading that direction where the new comics and the artwork has been it's the best time for comic book art that we've ever had in this industry. It's absolutely amazing. So it really depends on what type of collector you are. And I've kind of said that from the beginning. If you're just an art collector, that's a great time to collect comic books. If you're a story person, you love reading the stories, it's a great time to read comic books. If you're a vintage collector, I'll say this. If you don't have some of the books that you would love to own, that you've always wanted in your collection, now is a great time as well. So I do think right now the future of comics is bright, but I also think because collectors being more savvy, that a lot of Prices are still dropping. I think we're kind of leveling out, but there's also a case to be made that we're having all these huge sales like the Action Comics one that just sold for a record amount, the highest that's any comic was ever sold. So like there's a lot of positives right now in the market. Unfortunately, there are still some negatives or some plateaus that are going on as well, but I think the future is really bright.
So what are some of the negatives?
Honestly, the biggest negative to me is the fact that you can buy comics anywhere right now. And I've said this for a while is that think about all the places back in the day that we could buy comics. If it was as a comic shop, maybe you went to your 7-Eleven or a local pharmacy that had comics. You had eBay, you had, auction houses that were around back then. Now you could go on your phone. You can go to Instagram. You can go to the auction house. You can go to eBay. You can go to whatnot. You can go to somebody's personal website. You can trade with other collectors now because the social media and how that's kind of brought everything together. There's a live sale selling comics every night on Instagram at multiple sellers. So that's a detriment to me. Like when there's that much available, it kind of at least for me, it turns off the buying because and now where I am in my collecting, I'm looking for something that I haven't seen before. And I hate dare to say this, but I probably have seen most of it. So I think to new collectors coming in, the fact that there's so much everywhere, that's a big detriment to the market because I think we're flooding all, copies of everything out there. And I think it's still kind of driving prices down.
So do you think younger people are buying comics?
I do. Like I go to my local comic shop and I'm lucky. I'm one of the really lucky people to have a really great local shop. Shout out to Zap Comics in Wayne, New Jersey. And they're priced right. So I do think when I go in there, I see young people going in, looking at stuff. Now, granted, when they go in, they're probably looking at Pokemon and stuff first and stuff like that. But there are, grazing through the comics, through the back issue bins and the new books. So yeah, I do think younger people are still into it. Are they into it as much as we were growing up? Hell no. No question in my mind. But there are other avenues for some of these newer collectors, these younger collectors to come in, like some of the games that are out there now, like the events that they do. So I do think that's what's really drawing them in. And of course, the MCU movies and DC movies as well is bringing those younger collectors in.
So I want to go back to original art. Do you own any original art?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't see it behind me, but yeah. So I actually have 2 pages of original art. One out of Amazing. I'm looking here because that's where the book is. Amazing
Sure.
Spider-Man number 13, and then I have a book
Wow.
out of a modern, not the original 13, the newer run in the modern age. I
Yes.
wish I had the original. That would have been crazy.
I
And
got a
then I have,
follow-up question then. Yep.
and then something out of Spectacular Spider-Man, a modern run as well. But I also have, which is really cool, a buddy of mine who's an incredible artist, absolutely incredible artist did like 5 recreations of original covers for me, and I have them, behind me framed. They're incredible. So I have Amazing Spider-Man 129, Hulk
Mm,
1, AF-15, ASM 41, First Rhino, and Superman number 1.
wow.
They're awesome.
So I got to ask, who's your favorite Spider-Man artist?
For me, it's probably John Romita Sr., no question,
Thank
and
you.
then Tom
Thank you.
McFarlane. John Romita Sr. to me is the GOAT.
Oh
I
my
think he's
God.
my favorite artist overall. Forget just Spider-Man. Kirby's he's right up there because he's the king. But at the same time, when you look at Kirby's art, he's every character almost looks the same a little bit. But Ramita was just he brought warmth and character to these characters, and I grew up with that. So
Yeah, his background in romance, I think really brought something to, Mary Jane and Peter Parker.
I love his art, and he had a long run from 39 to what is it, 120 something. He went around that. I know he had some help with Gil Kane and some other artists at that time, but his run is the best Spider-Man run to collect and read, in my opinion.
If you had to pick, what's a favorite cover?
39. I've said this multiple times. That first one he did, he just knocked it right
Isn't
out of
that
the
in
park, man.
oh my God, I agree.
It's unbelievable. And the storyline for that as well made it more iconic. Like you have the cover and then you have the story about him being unmasked is just
Yes.
it's just crazy. So like it just right from the get-go, he hit the ground running and just took off.
And is that, what's the Marvel Tales? Was that 29, the cover, where they got Peter Parker all tied up in Green Goblin?
Yes,
Yes. Oh my God, that's awesome too.
he's the best. What's your favorite?
You got it. You just said it. That's
Oh,
it.
that's
Yeah,
same one. Yeah, it's
100%.
It's iconic. It
Yes.
really is. And he did so many. We talk about Rabita, like 121 with all the faces, the yellow cover is amazing. What was it? 55 with Doc Ock with the glasses. Another one is just like
Yes.
you're never gonna see that again.
No,
That yeah.
no, it's incredible. And, what is it, Daredevil 16? Is that the first Romita cover where it's
Yes.
Spider-Man and yeah, I get
He was amazing. The
yeah, that
best.
is the
My second was Todd. Todd, I mean, such a huge
yes.
influence on me growing up.
So Todd grew on me at first, like I went I'm a little older than you, so I went through that and then all of a sudden, "What is this?" You know? And, like, his depiction of Green Goblin, that's my big hang up. I love Green Goblin, and, I hated when they in the movie, when they made him, like, some, mech'd out suit, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, "What are your thoughts? Why couldn't they do an original suit on Green Goblin?"
Back in the day, I don't know. That was the big disappointment with that movie is the way the Green Goblin looked. I can't answer why they didn't have a true
Yes.
accurate depiction of Green Goblin. I know they tried to. There still was a mask, but the
Yes.
goblin face looked like the goblin face. So that to me, I would have been better off with that. I don't know why they went away from it, but it just happens in the movies. Like that's what everybody was afraid of with
Yes.
Master Universe, how they were going to change some of the characters. So that it's really just akin to that.
What did you think of Willem Dafoe, though?
I thought he was great. No, I love
Yes.
his portrayal of the character. I
Yes.
thought
Yes.
everything besides the suit was really,
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
You go back and watch that movie now, it's definitely a little goofy, don't get me wrong. Like, the second one was a lot better. The
Mhm.
story was a better and it was a lot more believable than the first one, but, overall, I thought he was great.
And who's your favorite actor that portrayed Peter Parker?
Oh, that's a tough one. I like Toby's Peter Parker. To me, I always thought he was a good Peter Parker, very goofish and like, filled of wonderment. Like
Yes.
I like that aspect of Peter Parker. I think Tom Holland is a good Spider-Man. I really do. I think his look of Spider-Man, especially at the end of No Way Home, like that's a Spider-Man that I remember. And the suit that we've seen so far and what we've seen from the new movie, Brand New Day, that's my Spider-Man.
How about a super villain in a Spider-Man movie series? Which one do you think nailed it for you, or the closest
I
to it?
think I think Doc Ock for me, like the original in 2, he was great. Like that to me was exactly what I wanted to see. I would have liked like the original OG suit with the green suit with I would have liked to seen that, an iteration of that, hoping at some point down the road, maybe when they reboot Spider-Man, they do that. But that to me so far has been the best iteration of a character. I thought Vulture was pretty good in Homecoming. I thought they did a really good job kind of nailing that character because it was if you go to the comic, it was like you're never going to see that type of Vulture in any movie. So I thought that was good too.
Do you think we're ever gonna get Kangaroo?
No, you know what? I shouldn't say that. We're getting all these C
Yeah,
and
I
D
know.
level
Isn't that funny?
characters now in Brand New Day, so you never know. One guy I just mentioned, Spectacular Spider-Man was the Answer. I think we'll get like a stupid little Answer cameo at some point, but that's just the speculation on my end.
So you've been getting into Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, haven't you?
I used to read every Spider-Man title there was. Anything with Spider-Man on it, even if it was like a reprint, I would get it. Like, because I was lucky when I was a kid. My dad had a store and he had comics there, so he would bring home if anything had Spider-Man on it, he brought it home so I could read it because he knew I loved Spider-Man. Batman, I always told him I just want the Batman title. Just give me the regular Batman title. So that's what he did. And then he started bringing home Punisher as I got older, and I always like Hulk. So those are the ones I focused on. But any Spider-Man title, I was reading it.
Yeah, 'cause, that cover, the first one with Tarantula,
Well, I
killer.
don't know if you caught my latest. I did a Spectacular Spider-Man video on my channel about so
This
many
is what I'm talking about, yes.
so many great, like,
Yes.
small villains are in that run, and the artwork on Spectacular Spider-Man 1 to 100, the
Yes.
artwork is tremendous. There's some great storylines as well, so, like, I've always been into it, but, like, I've gone back because it's so cheap, and now that I have my ASM run, it's so cheap to go collect some of these first appearances. I'm like, "Why am I not collecting it?" I picked up a first Tombstone Origin for $5. I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
such a great cover." So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. You wonder about nostalgia. You wonder if kids nowadays, I don't even think they're gonna have nostalgia because everything is coming at them so fast. You know what I mean? When we were growing up, things there was a long time is something to develop. Now it's just boom, 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 boom. And I don't think they're gonna have that sense of nostalgia. So it's kinda cool that you're going back to Peter Parker's Spectacular, then they change it to Spectacular, but I like that. I like the artwork, and I'm kinda weird too. I like the, quotes filler comics. I like that. Keys to me, the problem is, you get these people. It's the old thing when someone's wearing a rock shirt, AC/DC, it's like, name 5 songs by AC/DC, you see some young kid in it. To me, it's like that too, when people come in and buy up Keys. I'm like, dude, you're not even into it. It's just worth money to you. So I would love, like you said, I would love comics just to go down to 0, just so you would really, separate everyone.
I think that, like, people who have been in it for a really long time, and when I say a long time, like, I collected when I was a kid and read when I was a kid, but then I came
Sure.
back to it,
Yes.
like, in
A lot of
early
people did.
2000s. Yeah, early 2000s and collected, ended up selling stuff again and then going back, like, in 2017, again, collecting it, getting into it with my kids. So I think a lot of, especially our generation, like, especially if you have kids, you kinda get back into it. I've done some shows, like local shows in my area where I've had, parents come up to me who watch my channel and bring their kids, be like, "Oh, we watch you all the time." And that's the best part of it, man. Like, you bring in your young kid who's like 10, 11 years old who watches my channel, and he or she is getting into comics because of that, with their parents because they're into it as well. There is no better feeling for me than seeing that.
But then I always wonder about how much is forced, because I was at I had a table at a show yesterday, and and I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden this guy's talking to his daughter about Star Wars, and she goes, "Yeah, you forced me to watch Star Wars." And I always wonder, it's like how much is forcing, how much do the kids really like? It's kind of crazy, I think.
It's funny because it's funny you say that because I don't really see too much of that, but I know exactly what you mean. I had this one kid, which is wild. Check out this story. I did like I used to have an LCS right in my town, and they would do like once a month, like a show outside during nice weather. And a couple times they invited me to set up there. So like this kid had to be like 8 or 9 years old, coming there with his dad. We had long conversations. Good kid. I would see him every year, every couple years at other shows that are going on. Now he's gotta be, like, 18 years old, and I still see this kid. He's like, "What's going on, man?" I'm like, "Oh my god," like, I remember you from a kid, and the fact that he's still collecting, dude, that's just awesome.
That is awesome, because like I said, I had the opposite. Kids playing sports and they stop playing. They go, "Why'd you stop playing?" Well, because just my dad wanted me to play. So you always wonder how much of that is like, I don't really like Spider-Man. So, but I think it's all gonna like sort itself out.
Yeah, eventually, people, like, kids, as they grow older, like, especially me, you move on to other things, you have other interests, like, you forget about certain things, but when do they come back to it? That's the thing. If they love it, like, when they're younger, I think eventually, as they get older, they come back to it.
Yeah, it's always like they always say about kids. When kids are young, they love you. Then teenage years, they hate you, and then older, they love you again. So
I'm
yeah,
going through that right now. I got an
yeah.
18-year-old who absolutely despises me.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's just a circle of life. It's crazy. So I just want to get your take on trends. You think comics? What are the big comics going to be 2026? Just
That's a
generally.
great question. I still think we're gonna, ride that absolute wave on DC. I think a lot of people still love the storyline. The book is super hot. So for modern comics, I think that's still it. It's gonna be the absolute series going throughout the rest of the year. Marvel right now is not really doing much. I think Marvel is kind of really shooting themselves in the foot. The blind bag craze is still here. I think Mark Spears Monsters is gonna cool off a little bit, but if we're talking about vintage, I think a lot of collectors right now are noticing that there's a lot of great deals out there, and they're gonna start jumping on them. So the bigger books are gonna start mid to year to the end of the year. They're gonna start picking up again. Like, I'm talking about the Silver Age, like the first Iron Mans, the first X-Men's, all those Silver Age big keys. I think they're gonna start heating up again towards the middle of the year, especially when the movies things start to happen again.
How about toys? Where are we at?
I think the modern toys right now are picking up a little bit. They've been dead for quite a while, and some of the new releases, the retro releases, like I've talked about before, I think they're gonna start picking up. Not too much, just a little bit, but I also think vintage toys right now is super hot, and people are looking for things that they have not seen in years. So a lot of the toy shows that are going on, there's a lot more people. I went to one a couple months back, and it was jam packed, jam
Awesome,
packed. So I think
awesome,
vintage toys right now are the place to be if you're looking for hot.
awesome. Well, I really appreciated talking to you. We had a great time tonight. I hope you had a good time.
I loved it, dude. Anytime you guys want me, I'm on here. I love talking about this stuff with you.
Awesome. Well, we got big things planned in 2026. I really appreciate you being on the show. If people want to get into your show, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You could always DM me, of course, on Instagram. That's the best way, but you could always contact me at the Mighty Rewind Podcast at gmail.com. And you could always send me an email over there. But I appreciate you
Awesome.
having me on, man. I always a good time.
Oh my God, it was incredible. I love because we're just always in the same wavelength, and the way you think is pretty powerful.
Awesome, man. Thank you for
Awesome,
having me.
brother. Rock and roll.